Hello everyone, today is 11th of June, now it's 20 past 11 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is first part of today's update in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second part of this update will be published on my Patreon page, and if you are interested, you're more than welcome to our Patreon community. You can become a sponsor, paid subscriber, to get access to extra content there, and well, links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. That's been said, let's talk about news now. And first of all, short summary about some important, in my opinion, developments on the line of contact in the zone of special military operation. And I will start with the Sumi region, where yesterday Russian armed forces established full control over the Rizhovka settlement. This was reported initially, as I reported yesterday, by the way, by head of Chechen Autonomous Republic of the Russian Federation, Ramzan Kadyrov. And later on, yesterday, photos start circulating on internet, and I shared that photo on my Telegram channel. Many of you probably see it. So photos start circulating with the Russian fighters displaying in the central part of Rizhovka flag of the Wagner PMC. Maybe many people forgot already about Wagner PMC, but not all. Of course, Wagner PMC play a crucial role in liberation of Bakhmut, Solidar, and many other areas, of course. And Wagner PMC still plays crucial, important role in supporting number of African states, by the way, in their combat against extremists and terrorists and so on. So that was interesting to see that Russian fighters, maybe from Wagner PMC, or maybe Russian fighters that used to be members of the Wagner PMC and become part of Akhmat Special Forces, for example, or some other Russian units of Defense Ministry or Rosguardia, also were participating in this operation. And by the way, also many commentators now are expecting further Russian offensive operations in the Sumi region, in and around Rizhovka, and speculations are that Rizhovka was the first step, and one should expect additional Russian offensives in attempt to create a buffer zone similar to what is in process of creation in northern part of Kharkiv region, which is possibility, of course. It is a possibility. I also spoke about such a possibility during the previous updates, but same time we should keep in mind that maybe this operation towards Rizhovka was just a reckoning force operation of the Russian forces that went that become very successful. Sometimes reckoning force operations on its own, they may become offensive operations, and there may be Russian side, Russian units that were participating in this operation did not expect that they will manage to establish control over the settlement this easy, and once they establish control over their entire village, they just stay there. They did not withdraw, even if initially operation was a reckoning force. And therefore, I would not be surprised at all if in upcoming days, at least, we would not see any additional Russian local-scale offensive operations in the Sumi region. Although, by the way, it is also possible that this operation towards Rizhovka was an attempt from Russian side to divert attention of the Kiev regime forces, also to stretch Kiev regime forces, and maybe real local-scale offensive operations to create traditional buffer zone on the borderline will take place somewhere in Chernigov region, or maybe somewhere else. Anything is possible. So I want to point out this moment because I mean too many channels expecting now, talking about almost inevitable Russian offensive in Sumi region also, and I wouldn't be that sure about it. Who knows what who knows what was the real plan behind this operation? Only few people in the leadership of Russian armed forces, isn't it? Anyways, it is important that some activity is happening in the Sumi region, and well, PMC Wagner fighters are very active on the battlefield once again. Also, by the way, when it comes to northern part of Kharkiv region, where Russian forces for the last several weeks are conducting these operations to create a buffer zone, we did not receive any reports about crucial changes. Main hotspot is still Volchansk settlement, which is divided by which is divided between the sides. Also, by the way, important news from Chizhov Yar. From Chizhov Yar, that according to some sources, Russian sources, 2/3 of the Canal district, which is located on the eastern side of Seversky Donetsk Donbass channel, is under full Russian control. Some big channels reported about it, so therefore I don't really have a reason to doubt this report. So if it's correct, then if you take a look on these white dots, by the way, that's gonna be approximate line of contact now, which means that under control of Kiev regime is only this high-rise apartment buildings in the eastern side of Chizhov Yar and this part of industrial area, also on in western side, sorry, of the Canal district, and that's it. And if Russian progress is so significant in this Canal district, then well, one should expect, I guess, that entire district will become under full Russian control before end of this week. Also, by the way, we have some updates about Avdiivka direction. First of all, settlement Novo Alexandrovka. Yesterday I reported that Russian forces were conducting operations towards this населенный punkt, towards this settlement. And later on yesterday, reports came in that Russian forces established almost full control over the Novo Alexandrovka. Hard to tell at this point, hard to tell, but I guess these reports are correct and Novo Alexandrovka is under full Russian control. And same goes for Sokol, by the way. Same goes for Sokol. According to some reports, Russian armed forces established control over this settlement here, Sokol, which is not far away from Ocheretino settlement. And of course, many members of our community are familiar with this settlement, Ocheretino. There was very strong battles for that settlement. This is when it comes to Avdiivka direction. Russian forces continuing their progress towards Yasnobrodovka, in between Nitailova and Umanskaya, and it's only a matter of days, I guess, at this point, and this settlement also will become under Russian control. When it comes to southern flank of Donetsk sector, we have some updates from Krasnogorovka, and several channels, several military sources reported about Russian progress in southern eastern side of Krasnogorovka, and according to latest reports, I mean, if you can see these white dots, approximate line of contact, all this area, by the way, on the southern and eastern side of these white dots are controlled by Russian forces, which is a significant progress, of course, Russian forces also conducting reckoning force operations in this residential area, of private housing, and I guess if order is given, it would not take longer for Russian units to establish full control over the Krasnogorovka. Kiev regime forces experiencing more and more difficulties in that direction. Next is, of course, South Donetsk sector of the front line, and we have updates in this direction also, some significant updates. First of all, about Russian progress towards Ugledar from Novomikhailivka-Konstantinovka direction. Russian side further improved their positions. Kiev regime forces try to conduct local-scale counteroffensives in this area, but after taking significant losses, Kiev regime forces stopped conducting these suicidal operations. But most important updates are coming in from Vremyevsky salient area, of course, because yesterday Russian Defense Ministry reported in its daily update on progress of special military operation that Russian armed forces established full control over the Stara Mayorskaya settlement. I was expecting Stara Mayorskaya to be liberated about 2 weeks ago, because it was too obvious that Kiev regime forces would not be able to maintain their defense lines in this direction. I was little wrong, like for 2 weeks, okay, but finally Stara Mayorskaya is under Russian control, and now of course Russian forces in this area will focus on Urozhaine, where Russian side already has a stronger presence, and I guess I don't want to make predictions, but I guess it is highly probable that before end of this week Urozhaine will also become under full Russian control, and then of course next stage of Russian this local scale offensive operations in Remevsky salient area will be Makarovka settlement. And Russian armed forces are already conducting, by the way, drone strikes, missile strikes, artillery strikes, air strikes on strongholds of Kiev regime in Makarovka area, in between Stara Mayorskaya and Makarovka. So stage is already in the preparation for further offensive towards that settlement. And by the way, when it comes to Zaporozhye and Kherson directions, I did not see any reports about some significant changes in these directions on military channels, on Telegram or elsewhere. Although plenty of videos, by the way, are circulating about Russian strikes, intensification of the Russian air strikes, not just in Zaporozhye direction, but most importantly in Kherson direction. On daily basis, we are receiving more and more, we are seeing more and more videos of devastating Russian strikes on points of concentration of the Kiev regime forces and their military equipment, which may be indicator that who knows, maybe Russian side is conducting preparing some local scale offensive operations towards right bank of the Dnieper River. Theoretically, that's a possibility. Maybe we will see some reckoning force operations. I'm little skeptical that we're gonna see some large scale, sectoral scale offensive, but reckoning force operations with the crossing of the Dnieper River and establishing bridgeheads on the right bank of the Dnieper River is, quite possible, I will say. Okay, this is it when it comes to a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. I remind you, dear friends, that if you are interested in more detailed information about, and there is so much more news, by the way, of course, when it comes to detailed analysis of the developments on the line of contact, that for more news, I recommend military channels. My channel is about news in general. And right now, as I'm recording this video, I guess majority of you are watching update from Military Summary, first morning's update. And of course, Dima, host of Military Summary, regularly provide to us a great volume of information about this conflict. I will continue with some other news now. And first of all, this report from TASS News Agency with the confirmation that according to Russian Defense Ministry, Stara Mayorskaya settlement on Remevsky salient is under full Russian control now. Also, by the way, TASS News Agency is reporting that Russian Tu-MS strategic bombers and also Tu-22M3 strategic bombers conducted flights over the Baltic Sea, Barents Sea and Norwegian Sea. Training flights, by the way. They did not strike nothing but training strikes, and of course this is a clearly additional signal. NATO forces are conducting their naval exercises in the Baltics nowadays, and well, Moscow is sending message that, you know what, we can sink all of your vessels at once if we want to. So just be careful. Just be careful. Don't forget that you are playing with fire, and do not escalate so much so that you might receive results that you're not gonna be ready for, or maybe you don't even want. Because I want to believe that at least military leadership at least some of the military leadership of the NATO member states probably are adequate enough that they don't want full-scale escalation, military escalation with Russia. I hope so. And if that's the case, probably they will at least try to have some influence over their crazy so-called politicians in the collective West that are all about escalating with Russia. And also, by the way, when it comes to Russian military exercises, today Russian and Belarusian forces began second stage of non-strategic nuclear weapons drills. I shared the information on my Telegram channel also, and you can see video here, short video of these exercises. This is, of course, it looks like Iskander launcher. Yes, it is Iskander. It's not just ground forces that are conducting these exercises to use non-strategical tactical nukes, but also Air Force. This is a MiG-31 interceptor that was adapted to carry Kinzhal hypersonic missiles. Under their plane, you clearly could see Kinzhal missile. Also, behind these MiG-31s, you can see Tu-22 M3 strategic bombers that also are missile carriers, of course, including with the nuclear warheads. So yes, it is also warning, by the way. At this point, I'm just a little I wonder how many warnings already Moscow sent to collective West, man. Every other day there are warnings. That's how much Moscow don't want things to escalate towards point of no return. And Russian leadership is definitely trying its best not to allow this next level of escalation. But yet again, unfortunately, I am a little skeptical that Western ruling class, Western so-called political elites are capable of listening to other opinions, and they definitely don't have reverse gear. So at some point, I'm afraid Moscow will have no option but to take a step further and demonstrate force that Western ruling class would not be able to ignore. And we are already in that situation, I guess. I'm not gonna say we are close to that point. We already are in that time frame when most likely Russia will have no other option but to demonstrate force, some extreme force that Western ruling class would not be able to ignore. What that force gonna be, I don't know, and I cannot know, of course. Russian general staff don't share this information with me, but I guess this time is running out for warnings. It's already run out even. But still, by the way, I mean, many of you probably will agree with me that Moscow, Russian leadership did try its best and still continues, by the way, to avoid further escalation. Russian leadership was very patient with this crazy Western ruling class and their political elite. Russian leadership was very patient, but only so much so Moscow can tolerate. Only so much Moscow can tolerate. Anyways, let's continue, and let's hope that at least we would not see full-scale military conflict between Russia and the West, because that will be end of everything. I mean, it's just too clear. Anyways, next information is from RBK News Agency about meeting between new Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov and Russian military correspondents. By the way, I'm forgetting that some members of our community are studying Russian language, and they're asking me to read in Russian some headlines. And well, previous headline was about these Russian strategic bombers over there, Baltic Sea, Barents Sea, Norwegian Sea, Tu-95MC, Tu-22 M3 выполнили полет над 3 морями. That was a headline of the previous news about the strategic bombers, and this one is Belosov встретился с военкорами, which can be translated as Belosov had a meeting with the war correspondents. And yes, it is a tradition that Russian president started to have meetings with war correspondents, and there was already several meetings between Putin and Russian military correspondents, and seems like Belosov wants to continue in the same way, and he already had a meeting with correspondents, and according to Defense Ministry, based on this exchange of opinions, some decisions will be made by minister. And it's good, by the way. It's good that the Russian new defense minister is open to public, open to correspondence, open to receive information, not just from military sources, and of course defense ministry has its own sources of information, but also to receive information from civilians. And it will help, by the way, because of course military correspondents that are working in a zone of special military operation, they know opinion of the Russian forces, they know mood of Russian forces, they know what Russian forces on the ground will want to be improved and which way. So plenty of useful information can be received from military correspondents, and I guess Russian defense minister agrees with this take, and this type of meetings probably will become some regular event. Also, by the way, Kommersant newspaper is reporting that according to President of Switzerland, Viola Amherd, about 90 countries worldwide expressed their readiness to participate in so-called Ukraine Peace Summit on Ukraine in Switzerland, that's supposed to take place on 16th of June. And well, half of these countries are Western states, by the way, collective West, and the majority of their other half is client states. And what is interesting, no major country from the BRICS or Shanghai Cooperation Organization will send its leadership on this conference. India, as far as I understand, plans to send some delegation there and present India's vision of peace deal. But this delegation would not be led by Prime Minister Modi or Foreign Minister Jai Shankar. Some second, third tier diplomats will participate in this summit. No leaders from friendly to Russian nations are willing to participate in this clown show, which is once again demonstrates how isolated Western ruling class is becoming in this world almost on daily basis. Let's see in reality how many countries will send their delegations into Ukraine, but what can I see already is that this so-called conference is going to be total failure. By organizing this conference, Switzerland once again jeopardized its own reputation that it had some in the past as a neutral state, because Russia was not invited, by the way. Russia was not invited, and what is the point to conduct any conference on peace if you are not inviting all the sides of the conflict, all parties of the conflict? And well, it's gonna be total failure, by the way. Everyone understands this. Even US is not sending its top leadership. Biden is in Europe, by the way. They could leave Biden in Europe for another 2 weeks. Not 2 weeks, by the way, 4 days. He was in Europe just recently, isn't it? He could stay there and then participate in this conference, but seems like real decision makers in Washington are realizing that this so-called conference is gonna be a laughingstock, and they don't want Biden to be presented in that clown show, because after all it's presidential elections in US, and whoever is abusing that elderly man, Biden, I mean, they want their candidate to be seen in some good lights, not in some clown show, I guess. And yes, by the way, I mean, too much talk about this nonsensical conference. Swiss leadership probably realizing that world is already laughing at them, and that's why in the final document, in the final statement of this conference, there will be no demand from Russia to withdraw forces from Ukraine. It is also important to notice that even though conference did not yet started, Swiss government knows already what is going to be final document of this conference, final outcome. And of course they know, because probably they receive that document from Washington. So they know perfectly well what they're gonna discuss, what they're gonna vote for, and so on. This is a laughing stock. This is not a conference, by the way. There will be no discussions there. No, nothing. It's just whatever Washington said, that will be in the documents, and these participants in this conference will be forced to vote for that. Some may abstain. I mean, I guess the Indian delegation will say, you know what, we don't want to have any part of it. But majority of the countries will probably vote for whatever Washington wants to be voted. Because after all, majority is collective West and their client states. Anyways, by the way, let's continue. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that according to, you know what, let's translate this to be more precise. So some of the F-16 fighters that Ukraine expects from Western countries will be stationed at the safe airfields outside the country so that they do not become targets, said the chief of aviation of the Air Force Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Sergei Golubtsov. So Kiev regime openly says that F-16s that they're supposed to receive from NATO member states, at least part of the some part of those F-16s will be stationed in outside of Ukraine, in NATO member states, most likely, because there is only NATO member states, by the way, with the exception of Russia and Belarus, that are bordering Ukraine. Well, this is interesting. This is interesting because we already hear statements from Russian top politicians, Russian leadership, that no matter from where F-16s will conduct combat operations against Russian forces, those airfields will be legit targets and destroyed by Russian side. This statement was made a number of times directly and very clear. And the same was said yesterday, by the way, by Andrei Kartapolov, State Duma Defense, who is in State Duma Defense Committee. He's a chairman, by the way, of committee. And let's go through this news here. Russia ready to strike NATO airfields hosting Ukrainian jets, according to MP. Any airfields hosting Ukraine's F-16 fighter jets, whether they are in or outside the country, will be legitimate target for Russian military if they participate in combat missions against Moscow's forces. The chairman of the Russian State Duma is a parliament, of course, Defense Committee, Andrei Kartapolov, has warned. The comments came as Kyiv prepares to receive the first delivery of US-made fighter jets from its western backers, after Ukrainian pilots were trained to fly them. In a statement to RIA Novosti published on Monday, Kartapolov clarified that if the F-16s are not used for their intended purpose or are simply held in storage at the foreign air bases with the intent to transfer them to Ukraine, where they will be equipped, maintained and flown from Ukrainian airfields, then Russia would have no claims against its former partners and would not target them. However, if the jets take off from their foreign bases and carry out sorties and strike against Russian forces, both the fighter planes and their airfields they are stationed at will be legitimate target, according to Kartapolov. So yes, it's clear. Russian position is clear. Nothing has changed in this regard. If those planes will conduct sorties from NATO airfields, those airfields will be obliterated. That's Moscow's take on the situation. RT is reporting that US lifts arms ban on Ukrainian neo-Nazi unit. What a surprise, by the way. Unbelievable. And the US delegation, including Biden, by the way, just recently, like few days ago, were participating in a celebration of 80th anniversary of D-Day Normandy landing. How ironic, isn't it? That few days after those celebratory events to commemorate all the heroes that fight against Nazi Germany, just few days after that, the US is lifting arms ban on a Ukrainian neo-Nazi unit. I mean, crazy times, man, crazy times. How are you gonna comment this, man? This is, nonsense. This is crazy, but that's the reality. Let's go through this news, by the way. State Department has allowed the delivery of the US weapons to Ukraine's Azov Brigade. This is a third assault brigade, by the way. Now its name is third assault brigade, but it's Azov Brigade, whose members have openly whose members are openly ultranationalists and neo-Nazis. The flow of arms had previously been restricted due to units' ties to hateful ideology. After thorough review, Ukraine's 12th Special Forces Azov Brigade, also third, by the way, is Azov Brigade, passed the levy waiting as carried out by the U.S. Department of State, the agency said in a statement to the Washington Post on Monday, referring to legislation that bans military aid to units that are implicated in human rights violations. The State Department added that it found no evidence of such a violence committed by Azov. I mean, this is wow. Ukrainian officials treated the lifting of the ban as a top priority during their lobbying efforts, their post said. Okay, by the way, this is insane. This is insane. I don't know, guys. As US citizens, you can understand who their government is in support of, because grandfathers of so many, and fathers, by the way, of so many US citizens, by the way, fought bravely, and many of them died during the fight against Nazis in the Second World War. And now US leadership is not ashamed to openly associate themselves with the Azov neo-Nazi formation of the Kiev regime. They always cooperated with the Ukrainian neo-Nazis, by the way, since the end of Second World War. We all know this, isn't it? The US was never shy to cooperate with Ukrainian Nazis, included not just with German Nazis, but also with Ukrainian Nazis, by the way. And CIA and the British MI6 was actively working with them to destabilize situation in the Soviet Union, in the western regions of the Soviet Union. But that was at least not official policy of the Washington and London at the time. But now, these shameless mass murderers, by the way, like Blinken, Biden, and the rest of the garbage that is formally in charge of US, I mean, they are not shying away to associate themselves with the Nazis, man. Unbelievable. Level of degradation of the political class in the West is just unmatched. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Lenteru is reporting, and of course, by the way, this Azov neo-Nazi formation will be obliterated with or without Western weapons. They already are operating with the Western weapons. You think they are not operating with those Western weapons? Of course they are. They are most well-equipped formations, those Nazi formations in Ukrainian army. They are most equipped and well-fed formations in Kiev regime forces. But anyways, let's continue. Russian forces will destroy all of them. And also interesting information that I mean, I'm gonna translate this because this is basically first time, if I'm not mistaken, when a high-ranking military official of US is openly confirming use of Western air defense systems to conduct terrorist attacks on Russian soil in Russian airspace. So aircraft of the Russian aerospace forces, Il-76 transport plane, by the way. Il-76 is a transport plane. Su-34 and Su-35, which were shot down in the airspace over the Belgorod and Bryansk regions, were ambushed by Patriot air defense systems of the armed forces of Ukraine. Their crews were trained by foreign instructors in Germany. Colonel Rosanna Clemente, Assistant Chief of Staff of the 10th U.S. Army, stated this during the Fires Symposium 2024 conference. So this individual, Colonel Rosanna Clemente, officially confirmed that US troops, by the way, because we all know those Patriots are operated not by Ukrainians but by US soldiers and German soldiers and French soldiers and whoever sent those Patriots to, and British soldiers, whoever sent those Patriots to Ukraine. They are sending also maintenance crews and also militaries that will operate with them. So this person, even though she tried to say that it was Ukrainians that were operating with these air defense systems and they get training in Germany, come on, man. We all know that this is all false news. This is fake news. In reality, it's a US military personnel that conducts maintenance of those systems and also operates with those systems. And this is the first confirmation that these systems were used inside Russian airspace, and I believe US military personnel most likely was involved in shutting down recently Il-76 plane that was carrying 84 Ukrainian POWs. That mass killing, that war crime was conducted by US military personnel, I believe. And this individual, Colonel Rosanna Clemente, basically indirectly confirmed exactly that. It is what it is, man. And, well, of course, we will remember. We will remember everything that was done against us by our enemies. And when time is right, they will be, some interesting stuff will happen, let's say it this way. If our enemies are thinking that they get away with some crimes that they committed against us, oh, they are very wrong. They are very wrong. We will take care of them, no matter how much time it will take, but all of them will be punished, one way or another. Also, by the way, also interesting news. Wow, it's already 39 minutes, by the way, so I have to... Wow, so many news left, but it's already 39 minutes. Update is too long, so... Okay, I will continue on my Patreon. I will continue on my Patreon. Hopefully you will find this first part interesting, informative and useful, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. As I'm always saying, by the way, this is the only way we can influence algorithm, likes and comments to reach wider audience, and for very same reason, if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life and on some internet platforms that you are actively using. On Facebook you cannot share link, but if you want to, you can just write that there is such channel, Levan Gudadze Opinion. I don't think mentioning post will be deleted just for mentioning of my channel, but link cannot be posted because for whatever reason my channel is blocked on Facebook. But anyways, what else, man? Of course, if you find this channel interesting, useful, informative, and if you think this channel deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, which is my alternative for Buy Me Coffee. After my account was blocked on Buy Me Coffee, so I have Boosty now. So yes, you can donate through PayPal or Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon, where I have on daily basis some extra content, including second parts of the daily news updates. So yes, this is it for now. Well, I did not expect time to run this fast, man. There's so much news left. But anyways, bye to all the members on YouTube and Rumble, and members of our Rumble, our Patreon community. See you soon on the Patreon. Take care.